Welcome to POPLAW Podcast. I'm your host, Desiree, and I'm still not your attorney. POPLAW is a podcast where culture, business, entertainment, and law intersect. Join me as I explore cultural hot topics from a legal perspective and discuss the impact of some of the most compelling topics with industry experts. On this episode of POPLAW, I am sitting down with Gary Coichy, founder and CEO of Podcast Media, or PDM, the world's first and largest multicultural podcast network. A seasoned marketing executive with 2 decades of experience, Gary has held leadership roles at top media agencies like WPP Mediacom and Omnicom Resolution Media, as well as global brands such as Lacoste and Verizon. In launching Pod Digital Media, Gary created a groundbreaking platform that connects advertisers with diverse multicultural audiences. Under his leadership at PDM, it has seen over 1,065% growth year over year and expanded into experiential, influencer, and NIL marketing. His ability to secure high-profile brand partnerships has led to collaborations with P&G, Amex, AT&T, New York Times, Walmart, and the list goes on. In 2022, PDM secured a multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal with McDonald's, further solidifying its impact in the industry. Gary's expertise and innovation has earned him recognition as one of Ad Age's 40 Under 40 and one of the most influential power figures in podcasting by Podcast Business Journal. A graduate of Berkeley College, he also holds an executive leadership certificate from Cornell University. In 2023, PDM was named one of Inc. magazine's fastest growing private companies in the nation. Everyone, please give it up for Gary. Gary, I'm so happy to have you.
No, I'm excited to be here. This is long overdue.
Long overdue.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when you first started Pod Digital Media, year one, I was working at the Creative Collective, helped start CultureCon,
Right.
and there you were talking about Pod Digital Media coming in.
I was. Actually, it was the first year, but that was actually month 4.
Okay.
Because we started in July of 2018, so July, August, September, October, because CultureCon was in October.
October, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like month 4. So I was like still new into the game as a vendor and just trying to pitch the company, talking to everyone that would listen. So yeah, that was certainly a good event to be at.
I'm so happy to see the growth. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but I'm smiling about it because I just remember you coming in. I think CultureCon was sold out,
right.
And someone's just blowing up my phone. They're like, "We have this guy Gary here. He's from Pod Digital Media." I'm like, "Is he black?" No, but in all seriousness, I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." We came and talked. I was like, "Absolutely." Then I just kept seeing you everywhere after that, and we've been cool.
I hasn't stopped actually.
I know.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about DEI. DEI is a big thing. We'll explain a little bit more exactly what that is, but in a grand scheme of things, just the politics and impact on Black businesses with all of these new regulations and pullbacks, or what people perceive to be as pullbacks of different DEI initiatives. The topic is rollbacks in podcasting's future, what it means for DEI for creators. Particularly, I think it's important because your network is a multicultural platform, which I think is great, but a lot of Black creators also are a part of the network, a lot of Latino creators, and you being a Black owner and Black founder, I think it's a really important conversation.
No, absolutely, for sure.
So before we get into Pop Verdict, let's do a couple of rapid fire questions.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. If you had to describe the podcast industry using a reality TV show title, what would it be and why?
So to start, I don't watch reality TV shows, right? So I have to make up one on the fly.
All right.
I would say the life and times of podcasters.
Okay.
Actually, just Black podcasters, just the life and time of podcasters.
Okay.
The reason is, I know current podcasters right now, they're doing extremely well. And I can also just remember the first conversation I had with them. right? We actually had to fully explain what the media landscape looks like.
Yeah.
I had to explain what media impressions mean, and how should they position their rate card to get advertisers, to get brand deals, how they should sort of lessen the curse words in the podcast so that they can actually be, so the content can be brand safe for the larger Fortune 500 brands to advertise with them. So, and then now, you know, they're on stages, they're going on tour. And so the life and times of a podcaster, of a content creators when they enter the space, and then the ones that remains consistent, how to stick through it, and just to see that, I think it will just be the evolution that it will be lessons that anyone can actually learn from.
I definitely will watch it. You know, POPLAW has been around for a while, but I will say I am not consistent with this at all.
Right. Why aren't you consistent with it?
I think fear of success. POPLAW does actually very, very well. It was nominated for 14 awards.
Right. I was actually one of the judges that voted for it for the Webby Awards last year. You know, yep, I remember that.
It won 5, but I think also, you know, the fear of success, and also just my day job is so busy, and I don't have a large team. Sometimes I have trouble delegating because my show is legal in nature. Right. I don't want to give out false or wrong information, so it takes a lot of time. No,
but what does I want to unpack that a little bit. What are you afraid of? Why are you afraid to be successful with POPLAW? If it's already as successful as it is right now, and I feel like you're putting on you're capping yourself out. Like, why is that? There has to be a bigger why.
I mean, Gary, we're supposed to be interviewing you, but I will say that I'm not too comfortable in front of the camera. Okay. And that is a hurdle that I'm still getting over. When it was audio, I did it all the time. I had about 100 episodes. Right. But I'm getting more comfortable, and when I do take those long breaks, I get so many DMs from people who want the show back, so many people who are inspired to go to law school because they see me and, you know, I don't have that typical lawyer look. Right. And I think that there's a need, particularly for us, not only for lawyers, for law students, but just access to information that we don't really have. Right, got it. I mean, you've been killing it. For the last few episodes. So I'm not sure, like, to us that's watching you, that's a fan of the show, I don't think we can actually tell what that fear looks like. So I think it's a Desiree versus Desiree battle that's happening. And the minute, like, you kind of relinquish that fear, I don't think anything would stop you. Well, I might need to join Pod Digital Media. We can get the ball rolling. All right, so what's the wildest brand partnership pitch you've heard? Something that was so crazy that it actually made sense. The wildest pitch, okay, pitch that a client pitched us or that we pitched to a client? I would love to hear something that a client pitched you and you actually signed them or got them advertising dollars. I think it wasn't wild, but it was just a bit different, and that also helped us open up like a new division of pod media that we weren't thinking about. And I think sometimes out of things that are wild or uncomfortable, if you actually can take your ego out of it, take the emotions out of it, there's actually opportunities for you to learn, right? I apply that on my day-to-day life. So I think I would say, I think we were asked, we wanted to work with a large brand. It's a large box retailer advertiser. We wanted to work with them in the summertime because that's when like the switch over from Q2 going to Q3 for the rest of the year. And they're like, well, we're like completely tapped out for the year. We have no more budgets. The only thing that we have is this activation that we're doing with a competitor of yours, which is a large activation that they're doing, and we actually have a large presence. And if you can find a way to integrate yourself into the mix, they're a competitor, one, and then two, we don't know where you guys would be a good fit or what you guys would do for us. And then we're sitting there, and one of the wildest things we did was we actually did a live podcast on a racetrack for Lexus had a car coming out in 2020. Actually, that was in the heart of COVID, and we flew out to California. And as the race drivers were coming off the car, the pit, we were actually interviewing them. We had a podcast doing a live interview. And we're saying, so which means we don't necessarily need to be in a studio to have this conversation. We can actually go to the activation or any activations and record podcast content. And then what we did was we selected two podcasters and then two influencers from a network, and we said, look, we want to send you to this event to create content, capture content on behalf of a client, and interview all these people that are actually performing at the music festival. And then we just pitched it to the client. We're like, this is not going to work because they're already getting all the simplification. They have all this real estate they're not going to go for. And they're like, oh, that's actually a great idea because beyond the activation,
these episodes and these posts can come out afterwards.
Yeah.
And then that means now it can actually show to others that may not have attended the concert, the music festival, that we actually we had a huge activation. And they actually went for it. And it worked. And then so what that did do for us is like, hey, look, we don't necessarily do our own activation to have influencers attend. We can actually send influencers, we can actually send talent out to other brand activations to create content on behalf of our brand partners. And that created an entire new division for us. So I wouldn't say it's the wildest thing, but at the time, we really wanted to work with this advertiser because they were a client of ours and we were trying to see where do we fit, and then we made that happen.
No, that's great. And you went to an activation. You weren't doing activations at that time, but now you are. Can we just talk a little bit about your Art Basel activation? It was great. Took over
absolutely.
Soho House, Miami.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then that was actually your third activation. So we're on year 3. This year will be year 4. I think it was more so Art Basel has become this huge event. However, I've been coming to Art Basel for like 12 years, right? But when I come, there was not a space where I felt like my people were like there where the culture was present, right? And I'm like, this doesn't exist. Like no one's actually doing anything at school. And if it's something at school, it's just a party. We're just going, all you do is party, take a picture, and then after that, that's it. It's all over, right? So Art Basel 2022, I figured this was a good opportunity for us to, to create something that would be very special, and we did. So we launched House of Pod, which is House of Pod activations. We did it was a 3-day activation. We did it on Star Island, and our partner at the time was PepsiCo Sun Chips, and they actually had an art program, and we ended up with that. They were actually looking, how do we bring more exposure to underserved artists, right? If you go to a museum, it's hard to find like artists from all communities with their art being present. So like we want to create an opportunity to identify 20 underrepresented artists, build a mini museum, and then get people that attend the activation to vote real time with their favorite artists, and 3 of them get to win $20,000 each. And then the artwork will end up over 1 million Sun Chips bags all throughout the world.
Amazing.
Right, so we were able to execute that live activation where we did 3 days, invite influencers, invite other podcasters, invite all people from all culture, from all communities that attend the activation. And then 3 artists actually won $20,000 each, and their artwork ended up over 1 million Sun Chips all throughout the world. So we're like, why would we stop here? So then we ended up doing the following year, that actually a few months later, McDonald's said, hey, look, we would love to do the activation that you did at Art Basel, but not Art Basel, but can you do it for Black History Month? So in a matter of weeks, we ended up doing an activation for McDonald's with their program called Change Leaders. And so as we started talking more about it, Morris Wrigley, Orbit Gum, like, hey, look, we would love to do something similar during Fashion Week, because our theme this year is about being bold, being fresh. Can you do something for Fashion Week? We did an activation during Fashion Week. And then we ended up coming back for Art Basel Year 2. And then by then they would have gotten out like, oh, you have to go to PDMs. Now you have, if you come to Art Basel, you actually have to attend Pod Media's activation. So we did it at the Perez Museum the second year. And then we went on did more activations. We launched Talk Up the Yard, which is a live activations that we do at HBCUs, various HBCUs during homecoming season. And then we close out the year with Art Basel, and we ended up doing at Soho House, the new Soho House, which is in Wynwood. So we just wanted to create something that was for us, where the conversations were taking place, where we're just about just attending any event, but we can actually come see your favorite podcasters, and at the same time hear them actually have live conversations and witnessing the live recordings in person. So yeah, we're going on year 4 and we're very excited about it.
And you will continue to activate at Art Basel? For
sure. That's certainly a tentpole event. We end the year, we end the year with that. But where we currently sit right now, where we've been is we've always been an audio first company. Companies say, look at Pod Media, says this is the place where we can actually go and reach, where we can get diverse audiences at scale, right? So pre-rolls, mid-roll, ads within a podcast, great. Podcast, this is what Pod Digital Media does. It's what we're going to them for. But what we've realized throughout the year is that there's voids and there's gaps that we can fill, just solely based on the fact that we do have the right content creators, and we also do understand the cultural pulses where brands can actually show up authentically, right? So then that has allowed us now to not just be, we can be an audio first company, but at the same time, now we've become a cultural hub where we can really help brands do more than just audio. You can come to us for video content, for social influencer content, and then and now the live activations around these key cultural moments. So now we're a cultural hub that can really help brands connect authentically with the culture and with those diverse audiences, because we also have the diverse creators that we do. So that just speaks to the evolution, right? So the same way I spoke about the life and times of the podcasters, we can also talk about the life and time of pod media, because we've had to evolve and understand and meet the demands and meet our advertisers where they're at and help them take things to another level.
I definitely think that you should do that, because everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Everyone wants to build a business. So we'll talk a little bit later about how you got started and the challenges, but a little bit more of the BTS and people hearing the I don't want to say struggle per se, but all the challenges.
I mean, it is a struggle. No, it is a struggle. The shirt I'm wearing right now, it says, don't quit, right? But it says don't quit, but really says do it. So you are actually going to get the struggles. The struggles would come. And you just really have to find your pockets, find your voice, and find the lane that you can sort of own. And then once you find it, once you identify it, and also too, there's nothing new under the sun. It's never what you do, but how it's done. So those lanes already exist, but how can you fine tune it? What can you fine tune? What can you refine? What do your skill sets bring to the table? And then now, before you know, you're creating an entire new lane that didn't exist before, because you've enhanced things to another level.
So how did you find your lane and your pocket?
I think for me is naturally, I'm full of energy, as you know, right? I'm full of energy, and I really think my purpose is really connecting people and helping them get to the next level. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that's my life purpose. I hear your story, right? I hear that you have fear of being on camera, but how can I help you overcome that, right? How do I help you unpack it? And it doesn't have to be done like through therapeutic, deep conversation, this, that, or the third, but it's giving you specific nuggets once I'm identifying the things that work that you can relate to and help you get to that other level. Or how can I connect you with a media person that may have done my media training, that I know I've done others' media training, and connect you with that person and help you just get over that, right? So, so I think for me it was more being in New York City for so long. Not a lot of people know this, but I really started in New York City though I had always had a corporate job, but I was also a party promoter on the side.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
So I was a party promoter in all the hot clubs in New York City. And, I'd leave my 9 to 5, I had to be at my desk every day at 9 o'clock. I worked at a media agency, do all the media marketing stuff on a day-to-day basis. I'll go home and change. He'll be a completely different person that comes back out. So I was Gary during the day and I was GC at night.
Oh, yes.
Very different, right? And I think for me I always struggled as to, I'm hanging with these athletes at night, I'm hanging with these influencers at night, I'm hanging with these actors, all those thought leaders at night that are so comfortable. Right, and they always talk about how, hey, we don't want to work with these large brands. Why these large brands are not working with us? We have to go to these agencies that don't really understand us to represent us. And I've always heard them have those conversations, right? And then at my 9 to 5, I've always heard about like how brands are just really just trying to get deeper into culture, like how can they connect with a current athlete, a former athlete, a T1 influencer, a thought leader that's from our communities, and how do they also can reach those sub-communities. And I've always just trying to figure it out. But throughout the year, I just stuck with it. Like, I need to understand media. I need to understand the media space much better than I did at the time. How do I understand what display marketing is, what search engine marketing is, what social media, what influencer marketing is. And at the time, it was called blogger marketing, because you had to know the right bloggers. And then the bloggers will actually, do posts. You hire these bloggers, and they'll write these posts about your brand, and they'll post in their media channels. That was at the time what influencer marketing was, right? So all of those things throughout the year, I was just trying to fine tune it. And I think when the right time, when opportunity come to realize that the podcasting space was an untapped market, the timing of the knowledge that I had and the access that I had to talent just made sense for me to build this bridge to connect my two worlds. So then now I didn't have to hide being Gary, and also I didn't have to hide being GC, right? So then now I was able to morph it two into one to sort of really build Pod Media.
So when you first started Pod Media, did you still have your 9 to 5, or did you just quit and lean fully into Pod Media?
So Pod Media is not the first business that I've started. I've started a lot of businesses that I felt always wanted to be in alignment with who I am as a person, who I am for my purpose, and just overall lifestyle of who Gary is. So But I've always, with all these opportunities, all these like businesses I've started, I've always had a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right. So when I had this full-time job, it's like, yes, you can work on this, but certain calls you can't take these calls during the day. You got to wait till after the fact. And sometimes people want to talk right now. So they want you to be present. So I don't want to say that failed, but they never really had an opportunity to flourish because I never really allocated the time that I needed to allocate towards those ventures. For Pod Media was the first company that I started. The idea came in December of 2017, and we can come back and talk about as to how the idea came, but it started in 2017, and then from December of 2017 until May of 2018, it was a knot in my stomach every single day as to why I should start this company. It's like the signs were just everywhere. Right? And then it reached a point where I'll go to certain events and activations. I believe All-Star was in 2018, All-Star was in LA at the time. And I'm having conversation with some creators like, man, what's up with you? What you been up to? And I'm like, you know, podcasting. They're like, oh yeah, I hear people are talking about podcasts. What are you doing in that space? I'm like, it's creating a network. And it just like rolled off my tongue like effortlessly. And I'm like, did I just say that? I have a 9 to 5. That's why I'm only here for my 9 to 5. Right, and then I think when the time came, I actually got laid off of my job. It was actually a job I actually really loved for the first time in corporate America. I felt like I was working for a company that had the cultural relevance that I was always looking for. And then when I got laid off out of left field, I'm like, all my friends like, what's next? Where are you gonna work? I'm like, look, I'm too smart, too connected to fail. I'm well connected within this industry. I can always come back and get a 9 to 5. I think it's time for me to launch this podcast network. And then when I launched it, when I was getting ready to launch it, I'm like, I need to be a new energy, so I fly out to LA, and I'm out in LA during BET weekend at the time. Most people will tell you they started the company in their basement. Like, fortunately, I didn't have that. I didn't have that. I was building decks at Soho House in West Hollywood, right? I was in West Hollywood building my decks, and then people were coming in. It's on brand.
That is on brand.
Right, that's on brand, right? I'm at West Hollywood Soho, and friends are coming in now. They're like, what you up to? I'm like, this podcast company, and I'm speaking about it with so much energy, and everyone was like, I need to connect you with such and such. I think they want to do a podcast. And while I'm there, a friend of mine came. She always wants me to meet with somebody, and these two people came, and they're like, I hear you're getting ready to start a company. We would love to be your business manager. In the back of my head, I'm like, lady, look, I don't even know this company is going to be here 3 months from now. I don't need a business manager. First of all, there's not a lot of funds in the bank right now because I just cashed out my 401k, and they give me a package, so I'm only getting paid for the next 3 months. So we got to figure it out. And in the midst of the conversation, she said, we work with a lot of athletes and talent. If they want a business loan today, we make it happen tomorrow. If they want to purchase a car, tell us at 10 o'clock that car's in the driveway at 4 p.m. because we make it happen as business managers. And when she said business loans, I'm like, okay, we're in Soho House right now around a lot of people, and I don't want people in my business. I'm going to call you after the fact. And I called her at 7 o'clock. And I was like, hey, Marinka, you said something about business loans earlier. She goes, why can't you go the traditional route? I'm like, to be very honest with you, my credit is not in the best shape. I didn't really map out this entire business plan. I'm just going off of the energy and the fact that I know this is a void that I need to fill. And she goes, she goes, well, for us, it takes about 3 to 4 months to get like the business, business loans, et cetera. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. For the first time, my energy wasn't my energy, so she felt the disappointment in my voice, and she goes, "Well, how much were you looking for anyway?" I'm like, between 60 to 80,000. She goes, "Oh, we can have that for you in 48 hours."
Oh my God!
And I'm like, I just secured an unsecured loan. Off an idea. Again, she had like it was like that contract was airtight. So like when I had to repay the interest rates, so on and so forth, which actually were not terrible at all. But for the first time, I'm like, I have access to the funds, I have the idea, and also have access to talent. Like too smart, too connected to fail. What's going to stop me? So long way to answer your question. So it's the first company I actually launched, and I did it full time without actually having another job to actually sort of supplement the income.
So the layoff ended up being the blessing, and here you are,
100%. No, 100%. And until this day, at first I was like, I was so hurt, and I'm a Scorpio, so I'm petty by nature. I used to see them at conferences. I used to be like, yeah, I'm doing big things. And I always used to say that. And they used to come to me like, look, dude, we're so proud of you. How can we help you? And then one of the guys, executives now, Mike Nico, shout to Mike. Whenever the intros, like he's introduced me to so many people. Actually, without him, I wouldn't have certain access. It's like sometimes it's a business decision.
Right.
You can't take it personal. You know, sometimes a business is not doing well. It's not in the best shape. It was an agency at the time. They were going through a lot of losing business, losing clients. I felt it was a personal attack when in fact it wasn't. Right? Because now that I'm in this current position, they're actually willing to help me and give me more business and help me take my business to another level.
Right.
So once I got rid of the pettiness with them specifically, more opportunities came my way.
And that takes time, but I also think that's a great point because of the state of the culture and workforce right now. So many people are getting laid off or their jobs are in flux. So just to hear like you can be hurt, you got to get over it and maybe lean into the passion or the idea that you've been sitting on forever.
For sure, 100%. I think like feelings, it's good to have feelings. It's good to like acknowledge your feelings. It's good to express it, whether it's crying, whatever, it just helps you get it out. It's very important. But at the end of the day, like you need to cry those thug tears and then get back to it. And then to your point, like you can't really stay in that moment because as you're staying sad, you're being depressed and you keep that negative energy around you, you're blocking certain opportunities that might come your way. And then also too, if you can sort of really take that energy, because what I really did, I channeled it. I'm like, I don't ever want to be this embarrassed ever again. I don't ever want to hear somebody says, Gary, you are smart. Gary, we like you. Gary, but you're just not a great fit for us right now. So those words sting, right? But I use that as a motivation to say, look, I don't ever want to hear those words, so I better go out there and make sure that this idea works. 7 years later, here we are.
Here we are. And I love that I get to see Gary and GC at the same time.
At the same time. I don't need that. There's no representative. Like I don't feel the need now, currently fortunate, where I don't need to code switch. Like I don't need to tone down my voice. I don't need to like lower my back. I don't need to, like I speak with my chest out. You know, the same way I speak to the CMO of McDonald's is the same conversation I have with a talent.
Absolutely.
Right? The same way I speak to the janitor is the same way I speak to a CEO.
Absolutely.
Right? So like those, you know, it's just it's a blessing. It took a while to get here. But certainly I had to go through the process of just playing both sides, playing in both worlds to really understand, to mesh those through, to know what works for me.
Absolutely. And I think most Black people go through that, the code switching, being one person at work and one person outside. I think we are becoming more comfortable. At least we were before.
We were, for sure.
But I love that because when you unlock that and then you just
so much power in that. So much power in that. And then what you don't realize is that people respect your authenticity.
Absolutely.
And then when you might think you're being authentic because you're in your 9 to 5, you think you're being authentic, your coworkers are looking at you like, we can tell that's not you. And then when you're on a different side, you know, on the outside and you're just trying to fit in, people can like, that's not you. But there's so much power when you show up authentically and then you're showing up as who you are. And people can just like sense that energy. They can just sense the power walking in the room. They can almost see like the lights behind you as you're walking in, right? So, and once I've tapped into that, like, I mean, sky's been the limit ever since. Because it's just been allowed me to have more conversations and to have the gravitas to say, no, that doesn't make sense. I hear what you're saying. I see how you got to that point, but it doesn't make sense, and here's why. Right? Because not only have the knowledge, I have the insights, but also have the experience based on what I've done, accomplished in my past life, in my current life, to be able to look at you in the face and say no. And then I'm not quivering, I'm not scared to say, my voice is not shaking. They're like, no, what do you mean no? Yes, the answer is no, and here's why, right? So I think there's a lot of power in that, and you can't force it. And you can't fake confidence, you can't fake authenticity.
Absolutely.
You just have to like be knowledgeable and feel confident knowing what you know and also knowing what you don't know. And allowing, you know, exactly, and allowing, you know, and allowing to have fluid and honest conversations.
So you talked a little bit about your purpose, but I would love for you to tell me what your purpose is and how you found it. I think so many people struggle with that, but
for sure, I think for me, my purpose is knowing that I'm a people's person and I can have conversation again. When I mean, I enjoy having conversation with CEOs, like, cause like I get to hear stories how you become a CEO. I love hearing that. And I just love having a conversation with the janitor too, because the janitors, like most of them really love their job because they've been doing it for so long. Like they're, you know, this is what they do, right? And so I really enjoy having the conversations, understanding people's stories. So when I built Pod, I wanted to, the impact I wanted to have is twofold. One, I had realized that the podcast, I needed to democratize the podcast industry, because there was not one centralized location where advertisers, the Fortune 500 brand, can go within the podcast ecosystem and said, I need to reach diverse audiences. It didn't exist. A couple companies may have had 2 shows by a black host, but that wasn't like a centralized location where we can get it at scale. What if I don't like those 2 black hosts that you have? Then what? Then now you have a white host or a white male host really telling a story about black culture. That just doesn't make any sense, right? So brands didn't have access to that. So I wanted to democratize the entire industry, right? Democratize the industry to kind of like let folks know, hey, this is a location, this is a company that's actually doing everything at scale. And then the second piece is, for me, is I wanted to sort of democratize the space for content creators, right? Like, how can I teach you to create the right content and also help you monetize it? Because creating content is your passion. How can I help you monetize your passion? Right? Because then now the 2A piece to that is how, as you monetize your passion, this is now you're helping another creative monetize a passion. The person behind the camera, behind the lenses, the photographer, the editor, the producer. Now the money you're getting paid, you're sort of able to disseminate it out and deploy that to other people, right? One of the best stories I've ever had, I hear it a lot, but one of the first one I heard, and that's when I realized that like it's bigger than me, was a producer came to me. The podcast is called Black Girls Therapy. She's like really well known, right? She has a podcast that's about therapy, which at the time, like 8 years ago, was a bit taboo within our communities, and she was like really pushing it out there. And I looked at her, she was like the rock star on my team. And every conversation I was having, I was like, Black Girls Therapy really has a strong audience. Black Girls Therapy has 18 to 25, 25 to 45, Afro-Latina and African-American women. I was pitching her really hard. And we started getting a lot of brand deals for her. Like, it just started coming out. Like, once the door opened up, we were getting, like, she was booked and busy, right? We were giving her a lot of ads. And I went to a conference, and then I'm on stage, I'm having a conversation, and I'm talking about what the work party's doing, with all the confidence in the world. And of course, after each, you have these conferences, people come out and you want to have a conversation. And this dude was just like adamant, like he felt like he had to speak to me. And then he came over and he goes, "What's up, man? How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm great." He goes, "You have no idea who I am." I'm like, "I don't." All right. And he goes, "I am such and such's husband. I am Dr. George's husband. And I just want to let you know, because of all the ads you put on her podcast, I was able to quit my full-time job and be your producer full-time to help her take things to another level." Oh, wow. And it was like, okay, this is bigger than me now. This is not even about me saying, yeah, I'm putting dollars in your pocket. It's also making sure like I'm elevating your entire family. Right. So other stories I've been, this is how I put my kids to college. This is how like I bought my daughter her first car. Now, we have more employees than when we started as a one-man show, and this is how people are paying their bills, right? This is how they take care of their livelihood. So for me, my purpose is really about being about an impact. How can I democratize this overall industry? Because once Pod launched, all these other companies went and created special culture division. It's like,
I think you've been a little bit shady right now.
No, not at all.
No, we'll talk about it because I think it's important. But
yeah, no, not, you know what I mean? I think just people just saw the opportunity. But the thing is for us, like for me is, we're also in a space where it's really about collaboration and not competition, right? 100%. And we understand that we can't solve everybody's problems. There's other people that's going to come into the space that can. There's certain creators that can tap into that we can tap into. So we welcome it for sure. Right. But it's larger companies that I felt like, hey, you've always had access to this talent. You've always had access to the funds. But why did it take like George Floyd or like some like monumental moment to happen for you to come out of nowhere to create this company? I just feel like it was a bit inauthentic. 100%. But then you just accept it and you're just like, hey, I can't sit there and be upset about you starting your own company to take away from my pie. I just got to create something. I just have to innovate, keep innovating to make my product better, keep refining it. So then now you don't eat, so you're not eating my food because I need my breakfast, my lunch, and dinner. So I don't want any of that to go away, right? So, and then which is why like we've been very, I think I'm very bullish in terms of, I don't want to go out there just to create new divisions for the sake of creating it, but how does it make sense and how does it sort of amplify and enhance what I'm already doing and take it to another level? So that's how the influencer business came about, and also that's how the experiential live activations business came to fruition.
And I think that it's really important not doing something just for the sake of doing it. And when I talked about being shady, so obviously, it's an inside joke between us, but I'm gonna give you a little insight. So I helped create Revolt's podcast network.
For sure.
POPLAW is on Revolt's podcast
For
network,
sure.
the audio version.
Right.
But I know we always talked about doing something together, and even on a larger scale, when I was helping build it, I'm like, well, we need to tap into Gary at Pod Digital Media. We don't need to start from scratch. He's already doing it. He's learning, obviously. I can only give recommendations. And I think there's going to be some collaborations if they haven't happened already, but
Right.
here we are.
Right, exactly. That's a start.
But I remember you always saying, like, come to the winning team, I got the secret sauce. And I'm like, well, what is it? Obviously, you didn't tell me. But I think that is so interesting to see that you're focused, and it's a company that's actually focused on multicultural podcasting and podcasting in general, as opposed to it being a pillar in a different company. And I think that's what sets you apart from Revolt Podcast Network or any other podcast network where that's not their main business.
For sure. Yeah, for us, again, like I said earlier, it's audio first, but now we are literally a cultural hub for advertisers to say, look, and helping them show up authentically. Like it's one thing, you can't just come to Art Basel and then, just get a little space and then put a logo on the red carpet. Yeah, of course people's gonna come in, like you will get the attendance of people attending and, drink all your liquor and listen to some music and then they're on to the next. Right, but us, what we're doing is identifying the right creators that make sense for that moment and helping them create live activation, live content, both video and audio. And then now people get that in-person engagement to engage with your brand because we're creating these branded moments, these moments on the side for your red carpet, for your Instagrammable moments to take pictures, etc. And then people like really enjoy that. They just feel like, hey, by the way, the person that's on stage is someone that looks like me, that talks like me, that understand me on a day-to-day basis, understand as to why I'm here. So I'm not listening to a panel for 45 minutes and I'm getting bored. Right? It's any of that. It's literally, it's different. It's getting all the small things right. And then that's how these activations actually turn out to be great. And then the content that we get to create, we get to create that brings awareness to a new brand or a brand that's already established. And then how we connect the entire funnel from upper funnel to middle funnel, and to get that person to actually go out and purchase your product is the entire connectivity as to how we bring success to our partners. So yeah.
All right. I'm gonna keep reserve comment. Get with the winning team. All right. So if you could secure an ad deal for any fictional podcast host, think Batman's Alfred, Gossip Girl, or Olivia Pope, who would it be and what brand would they rep?
Olivia Pope, without a doubt. I'm gonna have to think about that. Olivia Pope, just because she's so diverse, she's so dynamic. Right, you can use her, you can leverage her during election season, which is every 2 years. So that's guaranteed ad dollars right there from the political world. She is extremely fashionable. So then you can like really work with a lot of brand, you can get a lot of opportunities with different, clothing brands for her, right? Or you can actually identify one of those large box retailers that you can partner with her, right? To get her to sponsor her podcast. You can get a lot of makeup beauty brands for her, right? But you can also get a lot of thought leadership brands, like you can get the Amex of the world, or the JP Morgan Chases of the world, or the LinkedIn of the world, or even B2B enterprises, just because she's so dynamic. So Olivia Pope, without a doubt, I would kill it. Like we'll be sold out for 15 episodes overnight. Yeah, so like first call is going out to P&G, second call is going out to American Express, third call will probably go out to Walmart or Amazon or Target, L'Oreal, NYX, or Elf Beauty Cosmetic, or Fenty. I mean, the list it's on for sure. Because the thing also too, she'll have political figures, she'll have sports figures in her podcast, and also like women, like business and 9-to-5ers, etc., or C-suite level executive women. So she'll be a perfect podcast host.
All right, well, I look forward to you launching some type of Olivia Pope podcast. So before we get into the whole DEI mess, I just want to touch bases on something we talked about earlier, was the challenges you face, one in launching your network, but also convincing brands to invest and come on in these podcasts.
Yeah, I think when we first started is some of our pain point was, first of all, it was like in audio, it was like an industry problem, right? It's like the consumption and the awareness of podcasting wasn't as high. If you go back to 2017, or if you go back to 2018, like people, like the podcasting world was not popular at all, right? So it was one, selling large brands into the overall idea to advertising podcasting.
Right.
So then now you have an issue, you have an awareness problem with the medium because it's so new, it's so emerging that a lot of people don't know about it. And then now you're also not getting the dollars from it, right? So when when we started Pod, 2017, ad dollars being allocated towards podcasts as a whole was 68 million. When you think about advertising, that's a drop in the bucket. That does nothing. And then you're not talking about one brand, you're talking about overall. It's 68 million because what made podcasting so popular and profitable were all the DTC, direct-to-consumer brands that didn't have the dollars to advertise on national television or out of home or these large publications. So they actually use podcasting for that one-on-one connection, intimate connection with the podcast host, and the podcast host will have Desiree 20, and Desiree 20 will be how you get 20% off at checkout. Right? So then you had an awareness problem. Second, you had a measurement problem because people didn't know how to measure the success of podcasting. Right? And then also you also had the third piece. I'm coming in and saying, multicultural, and people are like, what's multicultural in podcasting? So if it's multicultural, who are the hosts that's bringing the multicultural audiences to podcasting, right? And then one thing I really banked on, I think this is my first time saying this out loud, I really banked on a lot of Black people, Hispanic people joining the podcasting space because we love to talk. We just love to hear ourselves talk. And I'm like, if sooner or later, once everyone understands the barrier of entry in podcasting is so low, all they need to go is on Amazon, get a microphone, or get their iPhone to record the podcast content from their living room. Everyone and their mama's going to have a podcast. I really banked on that. Like, I mean it. I really mean it. I banked on everyone creating a podcast content. And I'm like, man, once they actually understand that it doesn't take much to do a podcast, this space will be flooded. So I'm like, look, granted, now all the T1 people you might know don't have a podcast currently. However, these folks actually have podcasts and they're bringing on board, and we do anticipate this medium, specifically the Afro-Latino, the African-American, the Latino audience actually join podcasting. So I was like out there with a microphone on stages, just like hammering it in. The power of the multicultural segment, $3.1 trillion buying power, the authenticity, they're connected and in control. Like the culture matters. Like I was out there beating that drum, and that was certainly a struggle because I didn't have anyone else that was helping me sell that story through. Right? And then we'll go to these multicultural agencies like the Burrells of the world, the Isaac Walton of the world. We'll go on the UWG Uniworld of the world. We'll go to these companies and they're like, well, this sounds great, but the little budget, multicultural budgets that we have, we're not about to take it and give it to you. To a medium we don't even know what it is. We're with you on the power of the multicultural. We get that. We support it, but we can't really help you on that front to getting you big dollars. But here's 5K, here's 10K. But at the time, what they didn't know is, when I was in those offices and saying, look, I need to take it back to the team, I need to talk to our operations team or a marketing team, I was the operations team and the marketing team. So the 5K, the 10K, the 20K I was getting was helping me build it to actually go out and hire a contractor, hire people, a consultant that can actually come in and help me to do the work. Right? So, I mean, so that was really the struggle, to be honest with you. I mean, access to capital is always, as we know, it's always hard for us to really build the businesses because then at first we're building it out of survival. So we got to figure out how do we survive? How do we pay our bills and how do we pay the bills for the business? So, all those things are struggles that we certainly, I personally faced and, us as a community faced. But I think the solution to that is you have to keep showing up, right? You have to believe in your product. You have to know what you're building is bigger than you. Right, and also again, I banked on a lot of all folks coming to join the podcasting space, but also banked on it creating something that's bigger. Where now I'm out to democratize an entire industry, right? And I have to educate, and that takes time, right? So I think that was certainly the struggle, but I think once the reputation kept pounding on the door, kept having the conversation, some guys would be like, dude, you're everywhere.
You were, and still are.
And I still am. And they're like, you're everywhere. Like, who are you? Like, what do you do? And then before you know it, the synergies were there and we were able to do business. So that was certainly a struggle that I had when I first started.
So you talk about keep knocking on the door. When brands told you no, companies told you no, did you double back?
100%. 100%.
And why was that important? I feel like sometimes people get no and they never go back.
I think that's the education piece.
Yeah.
People don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know what you need. You might not know what you don't, like what you need, you might not know that you actually in fact need it.
Yeah.
And then this is one thing that I tell creators all the time when I have conversations with them. You need to understand the business that you're in. You need to understand the business of creating content.
Yeah.
Like, who are you creating it for from an audience perspective, and who are you creating it for from a business perspective that want to partner with you?
Yes.
So that means you need to actually understand the data and the insights of your business, what moves the needle, both from the audience perspective, which piece of your content that was posted on Instagram, that was posted on YouTube, that got the most views, and why is that?
Yeah.
And then don't do it because such and such, oh, I had this big guest on my podcast and he did well because of the big guest. Yes, that's something to use directionally, but that is not the core as to why you're creating content, because some episodes is going to be just you and your homeboy or you and your homegirl that doesn't have that repertoire, or that has that sort of that following that, you know, the celebrity guest may have had, right? So you have to understand the data and your insights. Is it 70% men, 30% women? Is it 60-40? Understanding that data help you create better content, and then additionally help you have educated conversations with an advertiser.
Right.
Because someone looks like you, talks like you, and they have a high role in the company, it's even harder for them because they almost have to be perfect based on the partners that they bring through internally.
Absolutely.
So your job is to make their lives easier, not because you're black that you deserve this business, but to making sure that your business has a strong foundation so you can help them make the case for your business internally.
Absolutely.
You can get emotional about that. We do in fact have some gatekeepers. A gatekeeper will be a gatekeeper. Nothing is going to change that, right? Because that's part of their character of who they are as a person. It's not my job for me to fix you. I can't fix you. I have to go out and get business. But there is another side to it where it's not about emotions, where it's not about this person doesn't like me. It's about, look, do you have the right information and intel and insights and the things that I need to make my job easier?
Right.
So for me, when I said I kept showing, I kept pounding the pavement, is specific verticals that I knew the clients I wanted to work with, I would actually go out and get the insights as to how the audience, people from our community are interacting with the brand.
Right.
How they're purchasing it, what tickles them, what sort of triggers them to actually buy that brand, and then how does it correlate and bring it and connect the dots with podcasting.
Absolutely.
So then again, it's me understanding my business, understanding the insights and how I need to show up. I can keep saying the power of the buying power. Everybody knows black folks like to buy. We like to shop. What else is making them shop?
Yeah.
What is the psychographic? What is the you know, the psychoanalysis that I need to do? What is the environment in which they feel the most comfortable to purchase your product?
Yeah.
So I just kept showing up with insights and data. Hey Pepsi team, would love to tell you about the latest insight about the buying power of the multicultural segment. Hey Pepsi team, I would love to talk about the monthly podcast consumption from folks from the Latino audience. Hey Pepsi team, 76% of the Latino audience now have watched a video, a podcast on video from 2022 to 2024.
Yeah.
Hey Pepsi team, 5% of the, 35% of the Latino podcast audience is not creating content. So you can't, if you keep showing up to my door with the right information, sooner or later I have to say yes.
Right.
And then also the other piece that worked in our favor is, okay, Burger King, you're not working with us? Fine. Let me take this information over to McDonald's.
Right.
And then now when you realize that we're working with McDonald's, and then now you're like, all of a sudden, like, you're like, oh, I'm curious to hear what McDonald's is doing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't tell you what McDonald's is doing. However, I can tell you how we can help you.
Yeah.
Based on the success and things that we've done. So when we started working with competitive brands, and then now, because actually believe it or not, a lot of brands hate to be the first.
Yeah.
So it's really a monkey see, monkey do mentality. It sucks that it's like that. So you almost have to have that internal person that want to take that risk to say, look, this is a new medium. If we show up first and we'll do it the right way, we don't need to jump head first. But we can actually do a test campaign versus doing 200,000. We can do 50,000. We can do 75,000.
Right.
And then let's see the success. Let's see what works, what doesn't work, and then we can sort of double down on it and sort of increase our spend.
Yeah.
Right. So by showing up and kept being in those spaces, it wasn't just about, hey, I'm here, look at me in my face, tall, dark, and handsome. I just want to have a conversation with you. It wasn't all about that. It was more so about, hey, I realized you guys just did a new partnership with FIFA. Did you know that, 60% of the Latino audience that comes from podcast content are also soccer fans?
Right.
Because they're coming from Mexico, they're coming from, South America, from Colombia, Argentina, and all these countries where soccer is the prominent sport.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yes, by the way, here are those sports podcasts that we have within our network that skews well with the audience that you can reach. Let's do a test campaign. It doesn't need to be for 2 months. Let's do it for 3 to 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, and see how it performs. Actually connect with our agency and let's get a test going. We'd love to get it going. That is me showing up for my business, right? Because I'm understanding the insight that's going to tickle the advertisers that we're working with. NBA, like brands want to work with a lot of NBA talent because they're not creating podcast content. So we went out and created a partnership with the NBPA, the National Basketball Players Association. Any podcast NBA player that creates a podcast content that comes to the NBPA, we get to do a rev share deal. So then now we can actually you may not know who Pod Media is as an advertiser, but know the NBPA is.
Yeah.
So then now if we're telling you we have a partnership with the NBPA, that helps our case, makes it easier for us to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
So yes, I'm showing up all-star. I don't care if it's in Cleveland. I don't care if it's in Chicago. I don't care if it's in Indiana, where it's -2. I am showing up even for 24 to 48 hours to have that conversation with you and your brand to let you know that, hey, we do have present, we do have the right talent you want to show up for.
Yeah.
So to me, that's why it's important when I say keep showing up. Yes, it looks good on the gram, on Instagram and on socials where you're like an all-star and people say, oh, you at this red carpet event. No, it's bigger than that.
Right.
And also it's me also being at those locations, understand that there's talent that I need to talk to that may not even know the first step to creating a podcast content.
Yeah.
And how can I educate them? And by me educating them with intentions, they'll say, you know what, you're the one that sort of motivated me and gave me the right tools to create my podcast content. How can you represent my podcast to get brand deals?
Yeah.
And then that's been helping. That's certainly been how we've been building our business out.
And I love that you say that because everybody sees Instagram or what you post.
It's the highlights.
Actually, you're at the highlights.
It's literally
but
the highlights.
They don't know. You are at the meetings. You are in the panels. You're doing the work.
You're doing the work, and you're doing the work, and especially now, which I know we're going to get into it. The education is nonstop.
Yep.
The education is nonstop, and people always need the additional nuggets to feel more. What's the word I'm looking for? To feel bold and to feel more confident, to have more conversations.
Yeah.
Because I may know the conversation I'm having with you, but I don't know which gap I'm filling up for you that you may not know how I'm sort of, feeding you the right intel when you go back internally, when you're actually having other conversations.
Exactly.
And how that's enhancing the conversations that you're having, right? So, and I think for me, I take great pride in that, and I think that's also part of my purpose and the impact that we have. Giving you nuggets for 2 to 5 minutes, I'll always take a first call. Yeah. I may not take a second call, but I'll always take a first call for us to have a conversation for 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to read to understand where you're at in your journey, because I'm not going to do the work for you.
Right.
But I'm going to sort of tell you the right steps, align you, put you in the right position, and then you go do the work. And then once I realize that you've done the work based on what I'm saying and follow-up conversations we're having, then we can have a second conversation. Absolutely. Right? So yeah, it's very important. The panels, showing up at the panels, giving nuggets, post panels, sometimes it's in making sure I can get my clients into an event that they care for. Once they get to the event, because they want to connect with somebody else, I don't know what the purpose is there. I just know what my role is in making sure that I'm showing up for them.
And did you have the foresight when you first started Pod Digital Media to talk about multicultural? We know that Black, obviously you're a Black founder, but a lot of Black founders start with Black owned company, Black this, Black that, and you've done a great job at scaling away from being solely Black focused. And I think it's really been helpful, at least in my opinion, now because of all the DEI rollbacks. Did you have that foresight?
100%. Certainly understood the power of the multicultural audience, the power of the Latino audience, the power of the Asian American, ACM, Asian Pacific audience, the power of the Black dollar. I was always aware of it. It's one thing to scream from the mountaintop about the power of the dollar, the Black dollar, the power of the multicultural audience, but it's another thing to actually show people how they're actually spending and how you can be in the right environment so that they can actually spend with your company. So I think for me is I was always aware of it. Again, that's where my background in working at those digital media agencies prior in the media buying capacity came into play, because I used to have $30 million to play with. Not to play with, but it was $30 million that I had to deliver value to my clients, and $30 million for the year.
Yeah.
So that money needs to be spent on social media, search marketing, TV advertising, radio advertising, out of home.
Yeah.
And then out of the 30 million, there'll be like 3 to 5 million left, and the clients will come saying, look, we need to reach different audiences than the ones we're reaching.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be the $3 to $5 million.
Right.
But those will be the dollars I'll go to like a multicultural agency.
Yeah.
But internally, sometimes that we don't have certain clients that have a multicultural agency. They'll tell us to actually say, here's the $3 to $5 million. Help me go out and get new set of audiences,
Yeah.
diverse audiences that we're not tapping into. So for me, it's like, okay, you have $3 to $5 million, and then you're still using creatives. You want to talk to Black people and Latino people, but using a creative with a white person that doesn't even relate to that community. First, we need to change that for you. So educating them on that front. But then secondly, now I need to go out and find vendors that actually has that audience.
Right.
And then most of the time, we just kept going back to the same people.
Yeah.
Because the space was very limited. Mm-hmm. So then now, when I'm building Pod Media, and I'm thinking from a survival perspective, I'm like, I don't need the 30 million, because you know why? I can't spend the entire 30 million based on what I'm building where I'm currently at right now.
Right.
But that 3 to 5 million, I don't even need the 3 to 5 million, the entire 3 to 5 million, but if I can get 200 to 250 to $500,000 out of that 3 to 5 million, that I know that's like extra budget that you have,
Yeah.
that you just want to reach those diverse audiences. And if I can multiply that between 10 to 12 companies like you, I have a business.
Yeah.
Right? So then that's sort of really having that mindset, again, knowing that those dollars are there.
Yeah.
It's just having the right person, having the right conversation, again, empowering the right people to get access to those dollars, and then to go out and build, you know what I'm saying, to go out and build a product that they can actually tap into. That's literally the whole, like, that's sort of at the core of the foundation, the mindset of it, knowing that we can tap into those sub-budgets that existed.
Right.
And then once I get to that $500,000, how do I scale that? How do I grow that pie to $1 million, to 1.5 to 3 million, and then replicate that across other businesses?
Yeah.
But I knew the power of the audience because brands knew it, but they just never really know how to spend, allocate those dollars properly, because no one was doing the education, the work to let them know what they needed to do.
Right. And we keep touching on education and the power of the dollar and the multicultural, and so many brands and companies are scared right now of DEI or the executive order. So one of them, in radical and wasteful government DEI programs, and another order by the administration is in illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunities. I think a lot of people don't understand, like, these orders are for federal government companies, but they have crossed over a little bit.
No, not a little bit, a lot of it.
A lot of
to the
it.
private sector, for sure.
Private sector.
For sure.
And sometimes people want to know why, and I think a little bit of it is because of the political pressure and cost concerns, the lawsuits that have been coming down with private companies being sued by private individuals.
Yeah.
But what is your thought process on why these private sector companies have begun to follow these executive orders as well?
For sure. So one thing I want to start by saying, segue into that conversation, is a report that came out as early as today from Ad Age. The report came out that the research company that does that prognosticate ad dollars that's being spent year over year, basically had to cut down the growth percentage in which ad dollars will go by this year, specifically due to the fact that those policies that's being implemented, right? So to your point, like, you know, elections have real consequences, and this is one of them for sure. It's not about a political affiliation, so on and so forth, but overall it actually has real impact. And we're in the ad business, so therefore that's an impact to overall business. And the reason that's happening is companies do feel the need to sort of get aligned because they don't want to get penalized, right? So there's the fear factor on that front. But again, more so too, it's a lack of education, of understanding what needs to happen. And I'm very bullish when I say this. We have no fear, and it's myself and a few other leaders. Shouts out to Detavio, CEO of Revolt, because he's out there doing the same thing too. And I recently watched his interview on Bloomberg. Really shouts out to him. It's him, people like him, myself, and a few others that has the gravitas, because we know we have a solid platform and the people that we work with and represent, and we know the buying power and how much it could impact your business. DEI is about internal practices for a private company, the people that you hire, that are having a diverse workforce that can really help understand that diverse audience that you're trying to reach.
Right.
Let me explain it. If you're trying to reach 18 or 25 to 35 Latino men, and then your team is comprised of all white women, of all white men, your message will not be authentic.
Right.
It's just not going to make sense.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, having some diversity, some type of diversity within your internal practice, it only makes sense. That's part one of the problem. Any brand or advertiser that's not doing multicultural marketing right now, you're only doing yourself a disservice. In 1950, the percentage of white folks in the country was 90%. Currently, as we speak right now, 1950, which is what, maybe 50, 60 years ago, as we speak right now, that total is 60%.
Right.
Of white folks, right? So which lets you know within the next 5 to 10 years, the diversity of this country it's just happening on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
So therefore, when you're ignoring that audience, the Gen Z right now that's in high school, the Gen Z right now that's in college, the alpha Gen Zers, you're ignoring them because you're not talking to them in a way that's authentic. 3 to 5 years from now, 5 to 10 years from now, they have no brand recognition or no connection, there's no connectivity with your brand or your business.
Right.
Therefore, you're losing an entire audience just because you feel the fact that you felt like, hey, I need to sort of scale back on my dollars.
Yeah.
When the audience that you need that has the buying power, you in fact need them. You need to start seeding them now so they can actually have some correlation and connection with your brand.
Right.
So for us, it's like what we tell. There's a difference between DEI and multicultural audiences, but the two are different, but they're just connected. So
what's the difference for people who don't know?
The difference is DEI is about the internal practices, and multicultural audience is the diversity in the audience that you're trying to reach, right? Is the Afro-Latino community that you need to reach uptown New York, right? Is the audience, the highly educated, affluent audience that you need to reach within the metropolitan of DC, Virginia, and Maryland.
Yeah.
Like, how do you speak? Those folks have the buying power. So, right. So how do you have the right people internally that can sort of help you refine your message so you can speak with those people internally? So DEI is just about making sure that your workforce is very diverse. You have the right women, the right races within your organization.
Right.
So when you're saying you're removing these folks, this, that, or the third, it clearly boils down to race.
Yeah.
But you're also not thinking about this white person or this black person that might actually have a mixed kid that speaks the language of his mom and his dad, and that you need to speak to differently if you don't have the right person internally that understand who he is as a person.
Right.
Right. So the diverse audiences, like changing the landscape is not changing. Like the mix, the mix in the audience and the people that we have currently in the States, in this country, it's only going to get higher and higher and higher in spite of what you do. Right, so I think it's myself, the Tavia, and the leaders in our community of these diverse media entities that has to keep doing that education process. As much as we may not like it because they know better, they know how to do it, because when George Floyd happened, everyone was quick to put black boxes in there. Brand were quick to put black boxes in their Instagram. They're quick to say, oh my gosh, we need to work with more minority-owned companies. Where are they? Let's find them. Let's have these lunch and learns. Let's give you guys dollars. You guys knew the importance then. What has changed? Because like by you overly investing in those black and brown communities, your business went up 3, 4, 5, 10x, and all of a sudden now you're flipping back in order for you to meet the standard of what might look like, to sort of almost like, to fit the political realm, that's, the political climate. So, but it's a real stat, like that came out today, that the ad spend forecast would be lower than what was expected due to the current policies that's being implemented.
Yeah. And what about the companies that are repositioning? They're not saying DEI, but they're rebranding it. Do you think they still have position in the marketplace, or is that also hurting their credibility? It's
hurting their credibility to some extent, but some of those companies are very smart, because this is what they're doing, right? And without saying any names,
right?
Certain companies are actually bringing us to meetings and having a lot of conversations and saying now more than ever, we need to double down on our spend as to how we need to reach your audience, because they need to know that we've got their back. But they're not saying that publicly.
Right.
So for us, it's a double-edged sword, because we do want the dollars.
Right.
We do need the dollars. But part of us wish they would stand on business and say that with a louder microphone, and they're not being timid about it.
Right.
Right? So we are seeing a lot of that. That's currently happening right now. Mm-hmm. We have a live activation we're doing at HBCUs this coming spring. And the brand is like, look, we want to do this. We love the creators that you have in place for us. Like we we overly invest in the HBCU community, but we can't make any announcement about this right now.
Okay.
We have to pause any announcement. We have to embargo any announcement that has to do with diverse-owned, minority-owned, and DEI, anything that's close to DEI. And it's like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
However, that's your positioning. That's your positioning. But we're gonna, again, at least you're still investing.
Right.
So we are in fact seeing a lot of that. Brands that are making large announcements. However, in the back end, or not saying anything at all.
Right.
However, on the back end, they're still want to ensure that they're communicating authentically with their diverse audiences, diverse media entities that can help them reach those audiences.
All right.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on the companies who were very public about DEI, and we don't have to mention any names, but they did a complete stance rollback, taking products off the shelf, taking down messaging, and their shareholders are now suing them?
I mean, it's everything has consequences. If that's the decision that you've decided, that's what you've decided to do, to roll things back when in fact it was profitable for your business. You also have to deal the same way you were happy with the wins. Now you have to be happy with the losses that's currently happening. Again, on our end, we don't think it's right. We don't think it's fair. But we also can't sit here and be in our feelings and sort of mope all day. We just don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have the time, and we also don't have the we don't have the access to just sit here and wait around. We have to actually go out where the dollars are and ensure that the people that want to work with us, that we over-servicing them, because clearly they're still right now standing on business and overestimating in our communities.
And have you repositioned your business because these rollbacks, your messaging, the types of creators you're bringing in or putting out?
No. Okay. I think on our end, we know the power of the communities that we work with. We know the power of the content creators that we work with, right? Administrations comes every 4 years. Changes happen all the time. So I think for us is, how do we navigate these current waters with the people that we work with or we want to work with? Again, I'm going back to that same word, that education word, to making sure that we're educating them not only in the overall medium as to how it brings value to them, but also in the overall audiences that we work with as to how to bring value to their companies. Let's figure it out over the next 2 to 3 years, 2 to 4 years. And then should things change back, at least we know there's already a relationship that we already have, right? But no, there's no change in messaging. If anything, we're looking for, we're working with more tier 1 names, bigger names that understand this moment, that wants to create content to actually talk about this moment, what it means for them. And then on our end, our job is to actually go out and get partners that can, in fact, that want to partner with them in order to elevate the content and monetize the content that they're creating. No, I mean, we believe in it. I mean, I believed in it then when multicultural was not a thing. We just happened to be around in 2020 when every brand wanted to give dollars to Black-owned companies. Yeah. We loved that windfall of funds that came through. Yeah. It was great to actually be there in the moment. We saw it, but we always knew that this wasn't going to last.
Right.
Like, we knew it wasn't going to last. Did we know it was going to get this bad? No, we didn't anticipate that. We thought it was going to go back to how it used to be.
Right.
We didn't think there would be a whole war in the entire DEI and multicultural diverse audiences. We didn't think it would be that bad, but however, for the most part, we knew things at some point, like, this is a moment. Let's make sure that we're still delivering and be in that moment, take the wins that we can take, and then let's get back to business. But in 2018, again, no one knew what podcast was, no one cared about the multicultural audiences, and we were still there. We were knocking on every door. So it's only right that we stay on the same course, educating and keep bringing more and more value to the partners that we work with.
So with this landscape and shifting of the dollar spends, what advice would you give to a new entrepreneur of color and a new creator who may want to start a podcast? More
now than any other time, your product needs to be airtight.
Okay.
Before, we always joke around and said Obama needed to be perfect for his presidency for him to not get in trouble, and that's also how, a lot of the Black C-suite, a lot of minority C-suite executives feel internally. They almost have to be perfect versus their white counterparts, which is unfortunate. But more than ever now, as a creator and as an entrepreneur, like, you have to have an airtight. Your foundation needs to be solid. You need to know all aspects of your business. You need to know about every dollar that's going out and every dollar that's coming in. Right. And then how are you spending that wisely and how are you spending that effectively? You need to understand every aspect. The boring work needs to get done. Like, the boring work for an athlete is when they're watching tapes,
Yeah.
is when they're, it's 7 p.m. or it's 5 a.m. and they're in the gym and they're just doing the small footwork. It's the boring, unsexy work. Like more than ever, we have to do a lot more of that to make sure that we understand our business, because the opportunities are a bit limited.
Yeah.
So when you do in fact get through that door for that first meeting, when you do get in fact, you get somebody like myself on the phone, you get somebody like Desiree on the phone to talk about the content you're creating, your shit has to be airtight. I don't know if you can curse or not, but you have to know your product in order for us to be like, okay, you know what? I do want to invest in your content because I do know how to sell it, because you understand what you're creating, you understand the need for consistency, you understand the need for quality. We can go ahead and help you. Right. If you build it, we will come. But if you build it from a solid foundation, we'll be an ally for you because you understand what you're creating. Yeah. So it's not as if that, before that wasn't a thing, but more now than ever, the opportunities will be more limited, right? Oh, I'm a Black-owned company. Okay, no. So understanding the landscape right now, so it's just literally understanding the business that you're in more than ever. And then also understand which value and the value that you're actually bringing in to the advertiser. Understand the value that you're bringing into the network. What are they lacking? Well, Revolt, just like Revolt Sports, which sports shows do they have? Do they have football? Do they have ping pong? Do they have soccer? The World Cup is next year. Which gap am I going to help Revolt fill? So that when I do in fact have a conversation with Desiree, I get an opportunity to get 10 minutes of his time that I'm not wasting, and that he doesn't push me to the side and say, look, give me a call when you're ready. Yeah. Like, you don't want that. For me is when an entrepreneur, when you actually go to and have a conversation with a VC fund, a private equity firm, or you go and speak to an advertiser, do you know your business well enough that you bring in value to them so that they can actually feel the need to help you get to the next level? Yeah. Yeah.
And I was going to ask you for 3 takeaways to give people, but I think you just summed it up right there. Know your business. Know your business. Know the changing landscape. The changing landscape, be aware of it. And what's the third one? I think have a flexible mindset. Be a flexible mindset, also AKA know how to pivot. Yeah. Right? On our end, part of a success story is we understood once everyone started creating a podcast network that we know there could be a multicultural podcast network. Yep. How can we become that cultural hub for a brand to tap into our audience in an authentic way? Mm-hmm. So then we launch an influencer agency business to tell you, hey, we have the right influencers, diverse influencers that can further amplify your messaging. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we have all these activations throughout the year: Super Bowl, All-Star, International Women's Month, Black Music Month, Father's Day, Fashion Week, Talk of the Yards, HBCUs, Hispanic Heritage Month, October and November, and then we end the year with Basel. Those are key cultural pulses, moments you need to be a part, where you need to be present, and how can we help you show authentically? Yeah. Right? So then now it's not like, hey, let me just go to Pod Media to get some audio ads. How can we go to Pod Media? How can Pod Media help us amplify? We're part of this music festival. Which podcasters or which influencers Pod Media has that can help us be on the ground and show the work that we're doing in the ground? Yeah. Right? Or how can Pod Media create a specific activation on our behalf to ensure that we're showing up authentically within culture with the right content creators that they partner with? Yeah. So those are all things. So when you understand how to pivot, you're not married to that one idea. It just allows you now to have more opportunities and be able to tap into more dollars and more budgets. Well, thank you so much. I think that we have covered a lot of ground. We talked about your start, your journey, how being laid off actually helped catapult you to dive into your passion and what that purpose was. Absolutely. And just the success of Pod Digital Media is so great to see. We are at House of Athlete. We are House of Athlete, right. So shout out to Brandon Marshall. Shout out to Brandon, man. That's my frat brother. That's what up, Newt? Yeah, he definitely has us in this space, and it's so great to relaunch POPLAW and have you here as I'm excited guest. For you. Yeah. I'm really excited for you. I do remember when you were getting ready to launch it, and I'm like, okay, she's getting ready to launch a podcast, etc. And then once I really understood the angle of it, it wasn't just a podcast of, let's just come here and chat, but looking at it from a legality perspective, which is people think law has to be boring and doesn't know how to sort of really tap into those, again, the unsexy work. Right. Right? Because if you don't have your paperwork right, look, you might put yourself in, have issues that you don't want to have to deal with. So I think you're really tapping into a white space. Yeah. I don't think there's a lot of lawyers and attorneys that has the versatility that you offer.
the quality, the quality of the content in which way you produce and create the content, but also the substantial conversations that you're having, and then just also it's not that serious attitude that you have, right? Yeah. So I think you have a combination for success. I've been a personal fan of yours as your friend, but more so seeing you in the space and how you're operating it, and then how you're showing up. All these awards and accolades, or just a proof of that, right? They don't define it, but it's just good to see that you're getting all these accolades. And I think, again, sky's the limit. You're very transparent talking about your fear. I don't know, why is POPLAW not at Cannes doing a live podcast at Cannes? Why is POPLAW not showing up to these various law conferences where people may not even know what's taking place, where it's very boring, and you're showing up with versatility and all the swag and energy, and then to get people to say, you know what, I'm inspired to create my own podcast content. It doesn't necessarily need to be serious. I can be myself. Absolutely. Right? And you're doing it all without having to code switch, right? By being your authentic self. So hey, look, I'm a fan. I'm glad I'm part of the season. I'm glad, what I'm saying. Finally, right? Finally, I've been in the backgrounds giving little nuggets here and there, but I'm glad to be part of the I'm glad to be part of your journey, to play a role, to be part of your journey.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. I know I have some work to do, so I can be ready for my first business meeting with you and not friend meeting. So I appreciate all the nuggets. If people want to contact you, tell them where they can find you.
Absolutely. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So it's my name, Gary, Gary Coichy, which is Coichy. That's like the most, it's a professional network. I'm very active on there. I do read all messages. No messages get lost in the sauce, just because it's all about business. So that's really helpful. Yeah. Also, of course, our website, www.poddigitalmedia.com, digitalmedia.com. And last but not least, I'm on Instagram, at Gary Coichy, my first name. That's my Instagram name, and there's also at Pod Media. There's also at Pod Media page, which you actually can go for a Pod Media page, is to ensure that we're giving thought leadership content to educate the masses about not only the work that Pod Media is doing, but also the additional information in the industry as a whole. So there's a lot of nuggets on there also too. So that's certainly how I can be reached. Oh, lastly, my email address is gary@poddigitalmedia.com. I may not read the email. I do get a lot of emails. I might miss it, so email a couple times.
I was going to say, you giving out the email? All right, that's direct access.
That's direct access for sure. That's direct access for sure. But yeah, sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean something that's for me. Yeah. It just means that I can just forward your email and delegate it to somebody else on my team that can give you the same knowledge, the same information that you're looking for. Yeah. So therefore, if you email me and somebody else reach out to you, just look at it as me seeing it, and then making sure I'm passing it to the right people, because I have the right people on my team now internally. It's not me going back and say it's my team. I actually have a real team now that can actually help you. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Gary. This is POPLAW Podcast. I am still not your attorney. Make sure you follow POPLAW on all social network sites, www.poplawpodcast.com. We are on Instagram, Apple, Spotify, Tidal, anywhere you get your podcasts. And also make sure you reach out to me personally, Desiree_Talley. LinkedIn is something that I also utilize. So while I am not your attorney or offering any legal advice, I can give you a little bit of gems and access to my network as well. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
And cut.